we're going to look at a different form of an equation. So we've already looked at slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, and that's one way to write an equation for a line. Now we're going to look at another one, which is called standard form. And standard form is ax plus by is equal to c. And so let's just make sure that we understand that this b has nothing to do with this b. One's small, one's big. That's the minimum difference, but in real life, with what they affect on the equation, there's no connection. So reviewing what we know about slope-intercept form, we know that m is equal to slope, b is equal to y-intercept. There's different ways to graph it. One is to make a table of x, y, and to sort of pick 0, 1, 2, or some other set of points and figure out what happens with y. The other way to do it, right, is to pick the y-intercept, graph that, and then as you go, right, your slope, over and down, over and down, over and down, and there's your line. For something to be in standard form, there's two requirements that have to happen. The first is that x and y must be on the same side. The second requirement is that a, b, and c must be integers. So they cannot be fractions, they cannot be decimals less than 1, or in between 1 and some other number. They have to be integers. So here are three examples of equations that are not in standard form. This first one has x and y on different sides. So we have to move them onto the same side if we want to make it in standard form. So because this is over here, we want to move that negative 4x to the other side. So we'll add 4x to both sides. Okay, now this becomes y plus 4x, but we know that it's ax plus by. So the x always comes first. So let's just go ahead and commit to doing the x first. So 4x, and that's a positive y, so 4x plus y is equal to 2. So in 4x plus y is equal to 2, we have three integers. We have 4, we have 1 because it's 1y, and we have 2. X and y are on the same side. The number is on the other side, standard form. Second problem, we have 0.3x plus 2y is equal to 0.45. So in this case, x and y are on the same side, so that's taken care of, but we have decimals. That's not allowed in standard form. The easy way to get rid of decimals is just to multiply by some sort of factor of 10. And John is here.
Boring.
So we're just going to multiply by a factor of 10. If we only multiply by 10, then we only get rid of that 0.3, but we'd still have 4.5. So take the largest number that you need, right? So you're going to need 100, and just multiply everything by 100. So this will move twice, and this will move twice. Everything moves twice. So we have 30x plus 200y is equal to 45. Again, this is in standard form. X and y are on the same side, and we have all integers. For this last one, we have fractions. Again, we have x and y on the same side, so that's okay, but we have fractions. Therefore, we need to get rid of the fractions. The way to clear fractions is that you take the common denominator and multiply by that. The common denominator in this case is 6, so we're just going to multiply everything by 6. Everybody wants to get into the act today. The woo was chased. So we go ahead and multiply everything by 6. Don't forget to multiply this last number by 6 as well. A half of 6, 3. 2/3 of 6, right? 1/3 of 6 is 2, so 2/3 of it would be 4. And then again, don't forget 10 times 6 is 60. We have standard form. So what we want to do is we want to be able to make sure that we can turn slope-intercept form into standard form, and then standard form into slope-intercept form. So let's go ahead and take this problem right here. Y is equal to 2/3 x plus 1. And we want to go ahead and turn that into standard form. So to turn that into standard form, again, we need two things to happen. We need x and y on the same side, and we also need to not have any fractions. I'm going to get rid of the fractions first. So my common denominator here is just 3. Let's multiply everything by 3. We have 3y, 2x, and 3. Once we have that, we now need to get the x moved over to the other side. So to do that, we're going to want to subtract it to positive 2x. We're going to subtract the 2x. We'll subtract it from the other side. We have 3y minus 2x. But because we do know that we want the x before the y, what we're going to do is we're just going to write the 2x first. Now, it's a negative 2x. We're subtracting it. So let's do a negative 2x. The 3y is positive, so we'll make it positive 3y. The 2x is crossed out, and we have 3 left on the other side. We now have standard form. We're also going to make sure that we can take something that's in standard form and turn it into slope-intercept form. So there's nothing in standard form that gives a slope. So if we want the slope, it might be helpful to actually turn it into slope-intercept form. So to get slope-intercept form, we need y all by itself. So let's solve for y. We're going to get rid of the 3x, and we're going to get rid of the 5. Because the 3x is connected by addition, we'll get rid of that first. We will take that 3x and we'll subtract it. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So we have 5y is equal to, again, because it's mx plus b, we can go ahead and take that mx and put it first. It's a negative 3x, and then we have a positive 10. One more step, we need to get rid of the 5. Because it's multiplication, we'll divide by 5. Whatever we do to one side, we do to the other side. Now, make sure you do to everything on the other side. It's not just the 3x, it's not just the 10, it's everything. Y is equal to negative 3/5 x plus 2. That equation is the exact same as this equation. The same thing with the first one we did. These two equations are equivalent. They're just different ways to look at the same problem. The question now becomes, why do we have standard form? And in life, there are some problems that don't set themselves up for slope and y-intercept. Combination problems are good for standard form. Let's take a look at this situation. Katie's going to be changing a lot of diapers, and wet diapers usually weigh more than poopy diapers. So if we're going to assume that wet diapers weigh 1.5 pounds apiece and poopy diapers weigh a pound apiece, we could figure out the total weight. Now let's assume that we know the total weight is 9 pounds for a day. The place to start here is to figure out what our variables are. Again, we can generally look at the end of the problem or the question to see what the variable is. So make an equation that can represent the different combinations of wet and poopy diapers. That's going to be our two variables. So we have W is equal to the number of wet diapers, and P will be equal to the number of poopy diapers. Just think, for as miserable it is for you to think about it, how much more miserable it is for Katie to be living it. In this case, we're looking for a total. So a total is a sum. We're going to look for a sum of two things. Now we want the weight of the wet diapers, and we want the weight of the poopy diapers. So if each one weighs 1.5 pounds apiece, and there are W diapers, you can do 1.5 times W. That's going to be the total weight of all the wet diapers. And then if everything else is 1 pound, the poopy diapers, it'll be 1 times P. Now we want that to be equal to a total of 9. This is our equation. And you can see that the equation sets itself up pretty much in standard form. Now, the one thing that's different is that it's not quite standard form because it has a decimal, but x and y are basically on the same side, so we could change this to standard form easily by moving the decimal point. 15w plus 10p is equal to 90. Standard form equation. When we have an equation with two variables, there's more than one solution. In fact, there's an infinite number of solutions. So if we want to take a look at what some of these solutions are, we can go ahead and graph it. And what we want to do is we want to be able to find some points to graph. It is not going to work to be able to find easily the y-intercept and then to find the slope. It's not set up. One choice would be to go ahead and change this into slope-intercept form. But that's a lot of extra work. So here's a really easy way to graph all standard equations. We're going to set up a table, but instead of doing 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., if we try that, right, you get some sort of crazy numbers that may not work nicely. We're going to find 0 for x. 0 for x is always really easy. So in this case, we don't really have x and y, we have w and p. And it doesn't matter which one is which in combinations. It's not like one independent and dependent. They can be the same. So if we put 0 in for w, we get 0 plus 10p is equal to 90. The 0 cancels out the whole 15w, and we just simply have 10p is equal to 90. We can divide by 10 and get 9. Not bad, pretty simple. What we want to do next, though, is a little bit different. Because 0 was so easy for w, we can go ahead and put 0 in for p. That's going to change this to 0, and then we just have 15w is equal to 90. We do that division, divide by 15, and we get that 90 divided by 15 is 6. Now, these 2 points are pretty important points. The first one, 0, 9, is our y-intercept. The second one, 6, 0, is our x-intercept. So we just found our 2 intercepts. And we also use 0, so we are pretty confident that those are pretty easy points to find. Make our line, and we have a picture of all the different combinations of poopy and wet diapers that we might have. So only one practice problem today. I would like you to go ahead and take this situation where you have a slope with 2/3 and a point 6, -2. I want you to make an equation of this line. However, we're going to do it in the standard form. Okay? So my suggestion before you begin would be to think about how you can turn an equation line. You know how to turn it into slope-intercept form. And then you also know how to turn slope-intercept form into standard form. So pause, try it, and come back. So while not the only way to do it, we can definitely turn this into slope-intercept form. So we can take this, that's our y, put it in for y. We have our slope of 2/3, we'll put it in for m. And then we also know what x is, which is 6. So once we have that, we can solve for b. We'll go ahead and do the multiplication. We have -2. 2/3 of 6 is 4 plus b. Subtract 4 from both sides. And we found little b, the y-intercept. Oh, that's equal to b. We now want to turn it into slope-intercept form. That looks like this. Y is equal to, we have 2/3 x plus -6. Now, we need to try and find ax plus by is equal to c. So we have to turn this into that. The two things, right, the two requirements, x and y on the same side, and all integers. I'm going to take care of the integers first. Common denominator is 3. We'll multiply everything by 3. So we get 3y is equal to 2x plus -18. Don't forget to multiply this number out here. We now need to get x and y on the same side. So I'll subtract x from both sides. The x needs to go first, so I'll put that -2x out front. It's a positive 3y, and it's a -18. Standard form of the equation of a line that goes through 6, negative 2 and has a slope of 2/3.